Hello World Doll Day friends, this is Michael Canadas with the Carmel Doll Shop and the Grovian Doll Museum. We are putting the International in this World Doll Day segment, and we are also sharing something that we've never really done before on film. We have one of the world's great doll artists, Sayuri Sinn, with us today. And if you do not know who Sayuri Sinn is, you have been living under a rock, because she is the creator of these, I think, some of the finest reproduction Bru dolls that are available. I mean, you really do have, you've gotten it. And I know you've studied a lot in the process and making and trying to replicate. So rather than have a table full of gorgeous Brus, which we've got lots of videos on that, we decided we're going to go in deep and we're going to do a doll autopsy.
Yes.
We are going to show you what you never see when you go to buy a doll like this, say if it's an antique or even this artist piece. You don't tear it apart. You don't look inside. It hurts it. Now, I know that this is something you're interested in, and I hope the audience is out there interested too, is what's underneath it.
Whoops.
So, well, there, she just showed the underneath in her. So, what is interesting to you about seeing how they're made?
Well, you know, the mechanism under the leather, outer leather, that really interests me, because you know, you never have a chance to look at underneath of the leather if it's antique body. And then when I make the body, I just, you know, go by the instructions on the books, and then you know, teach you how to do it. But we never really have a chance to look at the actual mechanism with the antique Chevron body. So this is very rare opportunity.
But we have more than that. And I will tell our audience, we do at least once a year a retreat, and we do hands-on things. So a lot of these things here, which are kind of gruesome, they are for study. They are to, when we do a retreat, we will say it's a China retreat or a wood retreat. We will have things that the audience, the attendees, can hold in their hands. If they drop it on the floor and they break it, it's no problem, because they really are our, don't want to say it, but they're our cadavers. They're for studying, and you're a nurse, so you know about that, don't you?
Yes.
So in a way, this is right up your alley. So we're gonna set these beauties aside. We're gonna put them right here, and what I think we should do this chronologically, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
So we're not showing any lady dolls. This is all going to be the bébés.
Okay.
So I think we should start in the earliest, which would be this, which would be the brevete body. And what I think is very interesting about it is it's very simplistic, but yet the design, particularly around the neckline and this seam, this is basically the same pattern as the lady doll, but chubbied up. So I want you to pick it up and tell me what you feel, Sayuri, when you feel it.
Very sturdy, and then firm, and then kind of heavy. Yeah,
it's heavy.
It's heavy.
I mean, this is important to know. They are not stuffed with sawdust. They are stuffed with ground cork.
Okay.
So if you think about how they packed it in, they got a lot of cork. Would be heavier than sawdust, and it's usually almost always very firm, and again very. I mean, let's show them the back. No back seams, no darts. You have the rear end seams that kind of, we see this as we go along, and I want you to look at these two here, Sayuri. Because it's, now pick them up, because I want to hear your input on that. Doesn't that feel different?
Yes, it's lighter than the other one, and
Not as good of detail.
yeah,
I mean, I think they've got the feet are cute. Those are cute.
cute.
But this is a German version.
I see, because yeah, the seam pattern's a little different from the
And why
Bru.
would you make a different pattern? You're manufacturing dolls, you keep making them and making them. You don't suddenly change your pattern. But I mean, it is a copy, and we've got another one too. And the Germans were trying to keep up. Here you can really see the difference, can't you?
I
How big
see.
the stitches are.
Oh, I see. I see. Oh.
And the leather is just so different. So should we go into the pot bellies next?
Okay.
So we've done the brevete, which would have, I thought I had some brevete hands, I guess I don't. And then we're going to go into the circle dot body. And you can see that the front seam, how they created a little pot belly. And I think that that's to go from this, just adding that one seam changes the shape of the body. Now I want you to pick that up, Sayuri,
Sure.
and give me your impression. So again, it's heavy, isn't it?
It's heavy and it really sturdy, very hard actually. Yes. And then I believe there's a wire inside arm.
And then
Right.
we don't have the hinged arm.
Correct.
I mean, it's someone, you can see probably when it was being played with, they put a Band-Aid on the arms, which is not a good idea. But here we can see the evidence
Yeah.
of the wire
See the
right there.
wire?
I mean, that's like a coat hanger wire. I mean,
it's pretty
let's look at the
big one.
back seams, because that's very interesting. So here they're very uniformed, perfectly positioned. And you can see a little bit, we've got a tear here, but then we can see our cork, a little bit of cork coming out, but very firmly packed.
And then look at those feet. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, aren't they great? And they do have to do this stitching, I believe, when there is a certain amount of cork in there to get that.
Yes, yes,
that,
yes.
Now, you don't do this type of body, do you?
No, because it's very difficult to stitch around here to make it look so perfectly shaped feet and knees. So I don't. I do.
So, and you do you make a circle and dot doll? Circle dot Bru?
I rarely do. I used to.
Okay, so then you
but
wouldn't need that body if you were doing a circle. You'd only need it if you were doing a circle dot.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course, then we have, you can see that dolls come in different sizes, and here you can see it's the same concept, except now we're moving in from the circle dot to, we've got these very distinctive seams, and you can see it here again, these little almost darts. And that's because we've got a new product, and that is the Bru Jeune head. And the doll has gotten thinner and longer, beautifully proportioned. And again, I want you to pick it up and tell me what's your observation?
Well, she has really nice waist, skinny waistline compared to the circle dot. And then again, it's very firm, very hard. And then still nice, sturdy, heavy feeling. Yeah. And then her legs are much longer and skinnier.
Which really kind of make for fashion.
Yeah.
Is much more, it's like fashion magazines where you want to make your models longer.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And
Yeah, very well proportioned, I should say.
so, I mean, and now we're at the age, we went from the brevete to the circle dot, which are not necessarily marked in a whole lot of ways, to now the company is branding their dolls. So if we can turn it this way, And so we have a numbering system. So this is a number 5 shoulder plate, and then on the other side it says Bru Jeune there. And this is from the the Bru Jeune family owned the company. But when we were getting together our specimens, we have a great example here, and I think we've put them in the order that we feel that they were manufactured. So this shoulder plate with this hole for the arms, we would say is 1. This, where it's the hole but modified with an opening, is 2. And then these two, which are basically the same, would be 3. Now, do you agree with that, Sayuri,
yes.
as a evolution?
Oh, yes, yes. And then those are the early kind, isn't it? But those are shoulder plate for this kind of body.
No, I think I think these are for Bru Jeunes. Oh yeah, those are totally for Bru Jeunes. Matter of fact, I think this one, both of them are marked.
Oh, it says
So I think that what they realize is the early ones are, it's probably breakage in firing, and it makes it difficult to string. So this is way easier to.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
And I've seen I've seen all different versions of this, but I feel that when I see this one, that's usually always on this style of a body.
Correct. Yes.
This one is on this style, and then this is when we're starting to get to the Chevron body. So in the early 1880s, the Bru company sold their company to Henri Chevron, and of course, everyone was making dolls with new improvements.
Right.
And I'm going to read the propaganda, so I'm not making this up. And this is in 7 languages.
Oh wow.
So that means they had an international clientele. But here it goes in English. The Bru dolls are the newest, the prettiest, the strongest, and the best jointed of any Parisian make.
Wow.
So
Jointed.
So we're leaving this era. So other than the arm, no joints. So that would put this at the Henri Chevron era. So shall we show our really? Let's first show them a pretty one. So this one's fairly nice.
Very nice.
You can see it still, the body still has its kid strips that this held the shoulder plate. It's got all of its, the center seam, the darts. And then we have this new invention, which are these wooden legs. Now these are partially machine carved, but the toes would be applied separately, and those would be hand carved. So someone's carving toes somewhere, and then they glue them on.
Oh.
Yeah. And so what is your takeaway when you feel this body?
Much heavier than all kid body. And, she's got really narrow waist, which is wonderful when you dress.
Dressing.
Yeah. And,
the seaming.
Seaming. And then you can kind of pose to sit by bending.
They do sit.
Yeah.
A lot of people are afraid to have them try to sit. But we brought out a really gruesome example. So if turn away if you don't want to see it. But I know Sayuri was very excited because of the poor baby's death. Here we get to see what they look like on the inners. So here's basically the skin, and this one was obviously in a flood at some point. So here you've got your perfect example of what I was talking about, the toe. This one you can see the paint is worn away, and you can see the join for the toe. So I have never seen any that didn't have this join. But this is what's really fascinating, is the corrugated metal that they use. And I know you do this, but tell us how you do your corrugated metal for your bodies.
You know, the antique one has really thick metal. So I don't know how they actually cut and shaped it. They must use some kind of machine or tool, because I use much thinner version, so I can manipulate.
And you do that yourself?
Yes, I cut it, and then I bang it, and then I shape it. Yeah, antique one is very sturdy. You can't bend with hand or anything. But yeah, pretty much similar fashion when I make.
But here's
mine.
what you probably don't do.
That I
Isn't
do
that
not. I know, isn't it amazing?
And this is seagrass that's been folded and used as a stuffing, and that you'll find usually in the center part of the body, and then it kind of sometimes breaks down and goes into the leg, which we've got here. Mm-hmm. But then look at the top. The top part is cork. So it first it looks like sawdust, but it's not. It's cork. So I mean, as awful as this is to see, it's really an invaluable tool to, because you're not going to tear up a doll to look at this. And then the arms are, and these are Sayuri's samples. It's the same. You want to pick that up for them and show them? And it's the same. It's a tube that looks like they've cut it at the top and the bottom, and then they've put a dowel at the top. So that you get your movement.
Yes.
So when they said they had the best joint of any Parisian make,
so it goes like this,
and then it would fit in right in there.
Yeah. And then bisque arm will be down here, and then you can move back.
Well,
and
we
forth.
can show them.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Here they are. Oops. So that's how it attached, and then you have a movement, jointed elbow, and then this goes inside the shoulder plate.
And it's strung through.
Yeah. And then I think some models have a little screw.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Instead of a
and the screw would go into the round armhole.
Like this type.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So you can see just from this and all of this, they were constantly trying to improve, because when in the 19th century when dolls were made, the body was considered the important thing, not necessarily the head. And you because you really can't really patent the human head, but you can patent articulation. That you can, movement.
Okay.
So then one thing I want to share is a really important feature in Bru dolls, and we'll use this as an example. So when you look at this, I know you've studied Bru dolls, but maybe they haven't. What do you see on this is absolutely wrong? It is just not wrong. That we know that there's something wrong here.
Yes. If you look at this neck button here, this is not original.
It is not original.
No, because like this one.
Here, this is a good example.
Yes.
So if you looked, the head was long ago broken, and this is a button with a spring. And can you turn it inside upside down?
There you go.
This is a very unique feature to the Bru doll. It is only on Bru dolls, and are you ready for this? ATs on leather bodies.
Really? Oh, that I didn't know that. Oh.
ATs on leather bodies. They're the only dolls that I know of that have the same jointing.
Wow.
And I know that you probably have the skill to remove this, and I only know a couple of people. This is a very hard mechanism to take apart.
Yes, I have done it. I mean, reproduction doll, we do not use this system.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could. You'd have to have someone manufacture it for you.
Right, but there's no way that you can manufacture this.
So the point of telling people this is a really good indicator. is your doll's head original to the shoulder plate? Because very few people can change it. And if you see something like this is a no-no. This is something that Gemot or any of the other companies would use.
Yes, yes.
I mean, this is a nice little body, and it's a great.
It is nice body.
A piece to use for learning, studying. So then we should show this one, because this one, when we brought it out of the mortuary, I had thought that this had just, someone had tried to clean it. And then by having, we have Sayuri, and we also have Sally Freeman, one of my old buddies, and we really scrutinized this. And as we turned it upside down, even though it's aged, we realized this is wrong. It's stuffed wrong. So what we've come to the conclusion is this was a repair at some point. Don't you agree with that?
Yes, because I don't think they come with this kind of color.
No, because we have our famous Japanese Bru, and her body was this color, and they just stained it, put a stain on it.
I don't think they ever used brown.
And it's not. It's brown.
Yeah, it is
but
brown.
But what makes this nice is people don't get upset, because this is a study piece. It gives us, now this is something different we didn't know.
Oh,
look at that. It's got hair in it.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I don't know if when they recovered it, they put hair. This one has this. Put your finger in there.
Stuffed with hair?
It's stuffed with hair.
Oh my, oh yeah.
Oh, that's something, we learned something new.
Wow. So it's definitely, it was made later on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's no seam line here, which all Chevron body has.
We're even at the Casimir Bru era, we have.
Yeah.
So they made a mistake, and they may have restuffed this with hair.
Wow,
because
that's interesting.
If that broke down, and they were thinking, where do I get? Do I go out in the garden and pick the grass?
Yeah. Oh wow, that's a new discovery.
Yeah. But what I like about this one is you can do this, which you would not do with an antique doll, and then you realize when they were new and young, they could sit.
Yes.
So isn't that fun?
Isn't it great? Yes.
And then the one that, and this is something that's interesting. You think of the Victorians as prudish and not dealing with life as the way it is, but look at the detail on the little breastplate.
Oh, I know.
I mean, that was very, very.
The sculpting.
The sculpting.
Yeah.
And this style of a breastplate, you'd find this on the early Bru Jeunes and also on the circle and dots. And let's talk about the arms, because put that in your hand. Now, that's got some weight to it, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. Yes, very, it's not very heavy, but it has nice weight on it. And then, all the seam lines still there. And then this detailed fingers. This is like the most beautiful part of the Bru. One of the most beautiful part of Bru. Yeah.
And we should talk about the sizing, because unless you've handled a lot of Brus, which we have, and this can be when someone's buying their first Bru that they've ever had, and they're so excited. It's a big, big purchase. It's like practically a cheap car.
Yeah.
And when they made them, they didn't think of it the way say a German doll would be. It would be exact. They would mix the parts. If they had a size 10 doll with a 10 shoulder plate, they might put 11 arms on it or 12 arms on it. They didn't seem to have they were more concerned with how the doll looked than a regimented thing. So you'll see different.
It's 10 here.
It's 10. But see, the thing is, you'd never know that because in order to find the number,
Right, right.
you'd
'cause
have
it's
to go.
hidden. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's hidden usually. See, it's like here.
And that's unusual that you
Yeah.
could see it. But I think this also proves my point. Look at these are 10s.
10, so that
And look
goes
at
here.
but look at the size.
Oops.
You know, they're you know, kind of pretty amazing. And then you'll also see a mix of numbers with head and shoulder plates. So what I use is my eye, is it proportionately right? Because you might have, and that may have to do with when they're making molds, they're changing the sizing, and why bother, you know?
So like they have size 10 head with size 9 shoulder plate,
Yeah.
and the arm could be 10 or 9 or
Exactly.
and then but still original condition. Got it.
And I mean, where you can really see this back to what we were talking about earlier, not many people in this world can get that off. So, you know, you're not going to, so this is a 6.
6, yes.
Do we have anything left that we could see? Not really.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, because that's the front part of the head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I think its number's gone.
And by the way, people, we save these parts. Say if this doll came to us very broken and beyond it being repaired, we'll save the lips, we'll save the eyebrows to give to people like Sayuri that are doing work, and you want to know exactly how to do a lip.
Right, we can use a study material.
It didn't.
Yes.
She didn't die in vain.
No, and then sometimes I use those bisque parts to match the color.
Yeah, it's
Like
important.
you know, like my doll. Oops, she's bold. She's got. Sorry.
That's all right.
She's more kind of pink skin tone than this one. She's kind of paler than this one. So to paint her, I use the bisque antique shoulder plate and then match the color, because you know some customer likes to have more paler
pink.
or antique pinky one. So I kind of make both. Yes.
And then I want to show, before we conclude, I want to show you the one that you just fell in love with this.
You don't find this?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is so like a treasure.
I mean, this is, but here again, we're back to our toes. And you can see that the toes, even in the little ones, are carved separately.
I know.
And then applied, beautifully applied. But I mean, this is a size 1.
Size 1. Wow, you don't find this.
And I don't know. I'm not sure what all this is up here. It's kind of odd. It's some kind of, well,
I was glued.
something was
so
glued.
It's hard. Yeah. I think it looks like somebody added fabric to make it a little taller to fit in.
I have no idea.
Looks like it, because this is the original part.
Yeah. I mean, this could come off but again, I mean, they've done all of the work on the big ones
Exactly
and just
the
done
same,
it in miniature.
Same way. Yes, and the metal is just so hard. It doesn't, even move. So that makes very sturdy body. Oh, that's amazing. And then look at the shape of the foot.
Yeah, it's just tiny.
Wow.
Well, I think that, and then talking about the feet, so then we're going into the latest era of the Paul Gerard era, and now the dolls are made out of composition, but they've taken the carved foot. Why not make a mold out of it? Save a lot of time, reutilize it, and you can. I mean, don't you see, Sayuri, that it's the same leg, except now we've eliminated all the labor of the carving.
I see. So this is hollow inside?
It's hollow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, paper mache.
Oh, wow.
Paper mache composition.
Wow.
Well, we're going to let you study all these. Oh, and this is interesting. I didn't see this. Now, again, this proves my point. Do you see what it says?
What is it? 11?
11, 12.
Oh, wow. So
they're saying
This can
11
be used for 11
or 12.
12. So the version 11 and 12, they use the same.
See, I have not seen this
Oh.
before.
Me neither.
Wow. So let's compare.
So, yeah.
Let's compare. So we've got the 10 and how they've marked that.
Oh, wow. This is interesting.
And then see how much bigger it is.
Yes.
I mean, it is quite a,
Wow. Look
you
at
know,
that.
it doesn't look one size bigger. It looks,
That
and I
looks
bet they could use this on a 13 too.
Wow.
Now the thing is, the only way we could know this is you have to have a study piece, because I'm not going to take our dolls and take their arms off
Right.
for people to look at.
Right. Yes. Oh, wow. Very interesting. And then the color is also
Well,
different.
this is dirty. I mean, look,
Well,
you know, this is,
Well, that's true.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could have cleaned it for the autopsy, but and this has got a lot of detail.
Yeah. Look at this.
Lots of little
Like
rolls.
and then a lot more the separation space
Oh, it
here.
is. It is
Yeah.
considerably
See?
more.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that in the making, wouldn't there be a certain amount of movement in this when it's in the greenware stage, or
Yes.
would it be, or would it stay stationary? I mean, you'd have some play with it, wouldn't you, when it was still soft?
Well, I do not alter, but I have to kind of work hard to
Clean.
and then make this cut deeper, so that you will
that
separate
space.
fingers. Yes, because it's really hard, especially if the arm is smaller. It's very hard to cut deeper to separate fingers and then make more the detail. Yeah.
So
It's
when
not
you
easy.
go to make your brews, not including your costuming, which is fantastic, just to make the doll, how long does it take you?
Well, usually like 3 months.
3 months.
Per doll, because I don't work 8 hours a day. I
Yeah.
only work like a couple hours a day, and if you rush, the kind of decrease the quality. So I like to take time and make a quality doll.
But you would have starved in the 19th century.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I can't make a business out of it.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Well, I hope that you have some takeaways from this, and
I do. Yeah,
and
I learned a lot.
I mean,
Wow.
the one thing that we have an advantage of is we've been doing this a long time, and we've handled a lot of dolls. And sometimes when you start to handle a lot of dolls, then you start to see a pattern, and then even our cadavers here, you can learn from them.
Oh my goodness, this is like a treasure for us, like doll makers, because you will never ever be able to see inside body like this unless you provide for us.
Well, and then if we have a retreat, you can all come and paw all these yourself.
Right.
Well, listen, doll friends, we'll be back later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.